Hey, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. Now, as you know, from time to time, I'll have interviews where I have a special guest that I want you to get to know. And sometimes it's just for the Blessed Tribe, sometimes it's for my entire YouTube audience. And today is a very special day because I'm talking to one of my long time supporters. Met her a while ago, and I think this may be one of the few people that when I first talked to her, I could remember, where I was. And it was during a session, a coaching session, and my son was at soccer practice, and I went next door to the field next door and was sitting over there. And I just remember thinking to myself, like, there's something different about this woman, and she's gonna be doing something big one day. And I said that to myself, and just in my head I just had this big picture, because then too she was working corporate, and I was like, and I think she was in a good position, managerial position, and that just, I was in awe of that because I don't have a college degree and I've never been in a managerial position in corporate. And so to be working with somebody on this side of things, on the branding and the building, it really touched my heart. And so that's a personal story about Miss Jessica Rich, and just to speak to that. And Jessica, I thank you for coming on today. And how are you feeling?
Well, thank you for having me, Tony. I'm feeling good. I'm super excited to be here and just share a little bit about my story.
That's awesome. Now, Jessica, where are you originally from?
So, I am born and raised in Pompano Beach, Florida, Broward County to be specific. A lot of people like to say Dade, but I am from South Florida. And so I've lived there most of my life until I went off to school in 2004.
Okay, and where did you go to school?
I went to University of North Florida in Jacksonville, and that is where I spent my entire university career for 4 years. And then I started working right after that and stayed there for another 2 years before moving to Oklahoma City.
Oklahoma City. And that's Oklahoma City, Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
Wow, 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 wow. And so now tell us a little bit about yourself, and when you went to work, what work you went into, and then bring us up to now in the work that you're doing today.
So when I was in college, like any college student looking for a steady paycheck and also pretty good income. And so I got into the insurance industry. I thought it was going to be just a part time job to help pay the bills, and it turned into an 18-year career. And so part time turned into becoming a catastrophe adjuster, working in office. And then I got an opportunity to go out into the field in 2010. And so that's when I moved to Oklahoma City. A lot of people, when they meet me, they don't believe it, but I have climbed roofs. I have had, conversations with contractors. I have worked multiple different storms, from hurricanes to the wildfires, tornadoes. I have done it all. And so that gave me an opportunity and a base to really realize how much I love developing people. And so I got an opportunity in 2013 to go into leadership, which moved me to Dallas, where I am now. Love Dallas. And I got into leadership, really became passionate about developing people, just really helping people understand what they wanted to do with their lives. Although it was mostly in the insurance industry, I got to realize how much people wanted more for themselves. A lot of people had very similar stories as I did. You got into this career, it paid well, and so you kind of got stuck because you didn't know what would come with leaving. And so after being into leadership, I got multiple promotional opportunities. And so when I eventually left corporate, which was in April, I left as a senior leader, leading leaders. And I made a decision about 5 years ago that I wasn't taking care of myself like really like I should. I felt like I hit a wall. I think at that time, Tony, we had just started coaching, and so me trying to figure out what exactly I wanted to do. But what I did know is that I wasn't taking care of myself. I was always exhausted, I was tired, I didn't have good boundaries. I was a person that a lot of people know I have a really good ear, and so a lot of people would dump. And I didn't know how to process that and prioritize that to take care of myself. So through coaching with you, I started seeing a therapist. I really started this self-care journey, which created this foundation of me knowing how to prioritize myself, traveling, and then from me really taking care of myself. So you said the three B's. I was taking like hitting those two B's, really focusing on them. And out of that, I discovered I can still help people do what they want. I can still pour into people, but I could do that through coaching. And it'll give me boundaries. And so from there, I started Jessica Rich Coaching, which I thought was just going to be coaching. I'm on my mentor, and just that's all I thought it would be. Cool, great. I'll be a leader and then I'll do the coaching. But then one day, and that was probably like 2022, I think I was just leaving Italy with my sister. I spent 2 weeks there with her. And God just said to me, like, there's more. Like, you're putting yourself in the box. There's more. And so from that, I said, okay, well, let me host an in person event. And I decided to do that in 2023. And still then, I just felt like I was limiting what I could do. I think there was fear, Tony, because I was so used to the corporate life and, what came with that. If I asked most people, they would tell me, like, retire. You got a pension, 401k, good benefits. Like, you should retire from here. And so I just was obedient to not only with me like praying and trying to figure out like what I can do, but listening to my community. And my community became women who wanted to prioritize themselves, who were afraid of, traveling, who were afraid of practicing self-care, who were afraid to do things for themselves. And so from that, I really focused on like how do I take my experiences and help women prioritize themselves without feeling guilty. And from that came the I Choose Me conference. Then I planned a trip to Thailand. In about 2 weeks, I'll be heading to Greece with 24 women with I Choose Me travel experiences. And so I'm starting to do all I get to a place where I realize that I thought I was taking care of myself, but I wasn't. And so the one thing that I've been really transparent about is out of the three B's, I've always struggled with body because, meal prepping, I didn't feel like I had time. I used to have a personal trainer and I was so exhausted I couldn't keep up with her. And so last year, not only, just the body as far as like weight, but I started experiencing high blood pressure. And I've never had experience with high blood pressure. And, my doctor, we monitored it and it was only high when I was working. And so at this point, she's like, well, I'm not going to put you on medication unless you want to. But I know that you practice self care. I know that you travel. I know that you do all the things. Maybe you can like walk more. And so I incorporated walking more. She said, I know you said that you consider yourself eating healthy, but you're eating out. Really try to meal prep. And so I was intentional about meal prepping. And so, Tony, we went to Thailand like middle August. I came back within 30 days, I dropped 20 pounds just by meal
Mm.
prepping, just by walking. And so I'm like, okay, I'm good, right? I don't need the high blood pressure medication. I've come back from vacation and I think I'm on track. And then I go to another doctor's appointment and my blood pressure was 160 over 101. And I almost started crying because I thought I was doing all the things, right? I'm the self-wellness coach. Like I'm telling people how to take care of themselves. I done took these women to Thailand. I have a self-care routine. Why is this happening to me? And eventually it came to the point where I had to realize that I was doing everything, but the environment didn't change. And so I made what I call a bold decision to go out on leave. And a lot of people question that. a lot of people couldn't understand it. Unfortunately, 30 days going out into leave, my dad passed away. And so I ended up being out on leave for 6 months. But what that time taught me was like I was forced to be still. I don't think that I would have stepped away without that time. But I also think that God positioned me to be in a position to be still, but then also look at life from a different lens because I had lost my father. And, I just could not imagine going back into an environment that put me in that place. And so I made the decision to walk away. It was like 2 months short of 18 years of being in a role where I was paid very well. I got an annual bonus. I have a pension, but the one thing that I just kept reminding myself was all you need is a mustard seed of faith. And so I made that decision to walk away in April. And since then, Tony, I would have to say, like, I haven't had to want for anything. I wasn't a person who had 3 years of salary saved. That's not my story. But I just trusted and believed that I would be okay. And I have. Um, my coaching business is doing good. Like I said, I'm going to Greece in a couple of weeks with 24 women. I have other travel experiences that are coming up. Like I'm prioritizing the fact that I want women to know that this is a space where they can go and travel and don't have to wait or they don't have to do it alone. And then I was offered an opportunity to become a full-time professor. And so I am now in the higher education space, still being able to do what I was able to do in corporate, developing people, but I'm able to do that now in higher ed as a full-time professor. And so that is, I know that's a long story, but that's a little bit about just me and what I have been doing. I think that my journey, what it's shown me most is like, it's not to be ashamed of burnout. And it's not to be ashamed when things are, when you look like you're okay on the outside, but you're really not okay.
And that is deep. And what do you think it is about the workplace that creates burnout? Because you were a leader in your company, like you're in a managerial position. This is what we all dream of, being promoted, being paid six figures, having some responsibility, some status, people looking up to you like, hey, this is the boss lady. Like, she where I want to be. And being in that position, why do you think it brought so much stress that led to burning you out?
The interesting, that question is interesting because most of my career I worked 6 days a week, 12+ hour days. I signed up for that. Okay. That is something I signed up for. I spent many days, many years traveling on the road, like staying in hotels. And so you're talking to somebody who was used to working in very high peak, high volume environments. And I think a part of it became unrealistic expectations. And so sometimes when you have those, you're always on a hamster wheel because the goalpost just keeps moving because the expectations are not realistic. I also think a part of that can be hustle culture. A lot of people glorify like I did this, I did that, and so everybody wants to one up someone else. And I had gotten to a point where I no longer had to like define my worth by all the things that I had done because I had already done a lot of things. But when you still have that, it plays a role in expectations that are not always said, like they're the unsaid expectations. And so you try to keep up with that. But for me, it really became the point of I kind of knew in 2022 when I got promoted, I had made a comment to my manager and I just said, I live a really peaceful life. And I just don't know how this fits. I just said like I just don't know how this fits. But I had just got promoted and I wanted to give it a chance. But I knew that like that hustle and bustle and that grind, I think on that side, I was slowly like starting to fade out of it.
Now, is this a thing where you say 6 days a week, 12 hours a day? Like, I have never heard of that schedule in corporate America. Now, and you say you signed up for it.
I
Does
did.
that mean does that mean that was a role in your company? Like that was a job that multiple people did 6 days a week, 12 hours a day, or is it something that you just opted to do?
No, it was common. So I was on the catastrophe side, and so in that specific role, especially when you're leading operations, the expectation is to be available, and so it is 6 days a week, 12. It could be 12 plus hour days. I know when I was working in Louisiana in 2021, I was easily working 14 to 15 hour days, and so I
Is this
enjoyed
salary?
that though. I'm gonna say this is a salary.
Okay, so you don't get, so it's just salary. So you didn't get hourly pay and then time and a half over 40 hours.
Not as a manager, you did not. There were other incentives, right? And so a differential came with that. When you travel, there are perks. And so per diem, hotels being paid for, rental cars being paid for. And so there are other things, but I always would tell people in any leadership role, do not do it for the money because at some point you are going to outwork whatever the income or salary is that you receive. You got to be passionate about it.
Well, different seasons for different people. Cause you left, Jessica. I'm ready to go in. So, so call the people. Tell them, hey, my brother say he want my job that I let go. Cause hey, 12 hour day salary, paid hotel, paid flight, per diem. You get to go out to eat. But I can see how that can get old fast. And you lasted a long time.
Oh my
Like
God.
you really built different. And listening to you, I'm gonna tell you what I'm hearing. Listening to you, I'm hearing like what is so often put on black women. Like like people don't see your pain. They see you as, oh, she can handle it. She good. She'll be all right. But I'm thinking about it myself. I'm like, if I even working in doing what I love, doing that 6 days a week for 12 hours a day for more than a few months would be, I'd be ready to find somebody to bridge. And so I could really, and I say that, empathetically in a real way, like you really far exceeded what the human body was supposed to do. And it's honestly a blessing from God that you still, you know, fighting and winning, because it's a lot of young people having heart attacks. And so what would you say about the health scare? Was that something that you needed? And how has that impacted you, on this journey? How are you dealing with that, with your health?
I definitely think that was a reality check because I I've never had a high blood pressure scare. And so even my primary is like, you've been going to me for 4 years, you've never had an issue with high blood pressure. And I refuse to get on medication just because of work. She even said like, well, maybe we can try Monday through Friday, like during work hours. And I was like, that doesn't make sense. That does not make sense because I feel like once you start one medication, it's a domino effect, right? And so I'll eventually need something else. And so for me, it really showed me like how precious and delicate the body really is. You talked about like basically the conditioning that Black women, we can do it all. I think that is very, very true. A lot of even like my clients are Black women trying to navigate multiple spaces, not just corporate, but it's just like people just keep piling things on personally and professionally. And so for me, I think once I took the leave, I was feeling like, okay, you really got to get your health into a better place. And unfortunately, I went through a grieving process. But now, like, I have been very intentional. And so, you have supported me and shared this, but I started the Social Walk Club in Dallas. That was to like hold me accountable. Like every other Saturday, you get up and you walk in at 7:30 a.m. And so that has been accountability for me. And it isn't just about like the way I look, it's about how I want to feel. Because with the high blood pressure came with, my ankle was always swollen. And so we were trying to figure out what that was about or if it was related. And so I just started being more intentional about how do I get myself off of some of the medication, but doing it naturally. And it came with me eating better, walking. I have a personal trainer, so I'm working out with her 4 times a week. And then when I get back from Greece, she's gonna start meal prepping for me. And so it really was not just about the physical, like how I look, it's about how I feel. I have asthma that's been triggered by allergies, and I'm not even taking any more medication because all the things that I'm doing is pouring into myself, and my health is overall better. But that was a scare, but it was also a reality check because I shared that story with some people and they were like, "Oh, you're just stressed by doing a regular job. Like you're just doing what you're supposed to do." And I tell you, Tony, no lie, I've had at least 10 people share with me they've experienced high blood pressure results since I went out on leave.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. So you are leading an exodus and of people leaving the hustle culture and going into the purpose culture and
Yes.
doing what you called to do. So right now, kind of you mentioned some of it. You're doing retreats, you're doing coaching. What all products and services do you have for the public right now?
So yeah, I do have coaching, which I offer. I also have a membership community where it's an opportunity for women to come together and you do one-on-one coaching. We do group coaching, and then I also offer some exclusive access to blogs. I host women improvement calls, and so you get vault recording access to that. And you get like really an opportunity just to be supported, not only by me one on one, but then also other women as well. In addition to the travel experiences, which, like I said, we go to Greece and then Bali in Italy will be next year, which Bali is currently launched, and so I'm super excited about that. But I'm also hosting a virtual event, which is Peace Over Pressure, and it's a burnout event, really focusing on how do you prevent burnout, but then also recover burnout. And so I decided to partner with a friend of mine who's a therapist, but she also worked in corporate. And so she knows firsthand about the hustle culture. And together, we're just going to help the participants realize like how you overcome this mindset that you're supposed to keep going when you've hit a wall, talking about self-care, like what does that look like realistically? I think self-care is a trend. And in reality, self-care for me looks completely different for the person next to me. It looks different from my best friend or my sister. And so how do you just, establish and maintain self-care routines that's realistic to your lifestyle? And also reclaiming like your power. I think a lot of people are so afraid just to talk about what they're experiencing. I know for a fact, a really good friend of mine shared with me, like, don't tell people why you out on leave. But I do believe this is a part of my journey and my purpose to inspire people. I don't think that I'm less than because I hit a wall and I experienced burnout. Like, this is my way of saying, like, you can overcome it. And there is truly something on the other side. It's no reason to be embarrassed. And I don't want to work myself to a grave. And so this burnout event is on October 16th. It's from 6 to 8 p.m. And it's going to be loaded with just information for that person who feels like you want to give up or you're just trying to figure out the next steps. And we're going to provide that space for you to feel seen, to feel heard, but most importantly, some strategies to help guide you through either prevention, because you know, like you're getting to that place, or maybe you need some burnout recovery. And so that's also something that I'm hosting as well.
And what date is that?
It's October 16th, which is a Thursday evening.
Okay, and we will have that in the description, and all of the other links that Jessica has mentioned is in the description. So make sure. But the thing that I want y'all to really, really prioritize, especially if you have a job, you work in corporate, is this event. So this is October 16th. What time is it, Jessica? Can you hear me? Oh, it cut out. Can you hear me, Jessica?
I can hear you. I can hear you
Okay.
now.
You say the event is October 16th, and what time is it?
I can hear you, Tony.
Okay. You can hear me? I say, what time is the event?
Yes, the event is October 16th.
Okay, it cut out. It cut out at the end. So we have all of the information in the description. As y'all know, we on technology. You know how technology is, and we're using StreamYard, and so sometimes they'll get a little glitchy. But we have all the information in the description. I really want y'all to prioritize this event because this is something where so many people are dealing with this and battling with this silently, and you going through, and it's making you hurt yourself, and it, meaning some type of vice. And I coach with a lot of corporate women, and a lot of corporate women go through, and they're going through burnout, but they don't have a title for it, a label for it. They don't realize that it's burnout. And they start to hurt themselves in different ways through different vices and different things. And so that's what Jessica, and I feel like, you know, when you cross that Red Sea, and that's what her role is. So she is now someone who has had the experience, who has been in the trenches, who has won, who has lost. She suffered and she has survived. And now she stepped fully 100% into her purpose to help other women navigate and overcome and win the way that she had to teach herself how to do. And as she's still growing and learning and doing, she's creating environments and groups where women can come together and encourage one another. So we really want to get more women into the Social Walk Club that's based out of Dallas, into the one-on-one coaching, the group coaching. But let's start with this event. And Jessica, what's the title of the event?
It's called Peace Over Pressure, choosing stillness, self-care, and what actually matters, which is you.
I love that. I love that. Jessica, thank you so much. I know we had a couple of glitches here, but I think my end was going, so they'll be able to hear us. And Jessica, we putting the interview up with the glitch. Y'all, one thing about Jessica, she is a perfectionist. And I already know. Tony, Tony, I don't like it. I don't like it. It cut out. It cut out. And you couldn't hear me for 10 seconds. No, Jessica, we pressing through, and we got the information. So y'all check the links in the description. I want y'all to do a one-on-one with Jessica when your finances allow for it, because she has a very amazing heart. She got a very patient spirit. And Jessica, I'm gonna tell you something about yourself that you know it, but you don't know it. So Jessica is the only person who asks me, how are you? Every single time she texts me, she has never texted me and not said, hi, Tony, how are you? And there's nothing else in the text except for how are you? And I move so fast. I don't do like formalities. So I don't really do that to anybody I text, and people in my circle, nobody does that. But Jessica does that. And this will be an hour interview if I dive into her, unique ways. But she does that, and it makes me feel like seen, respected, and appreciated. And it creates a space, an open space, to where if I'm not doing good, I could say, Jessica, whoo, it's rough out here, and then she will respond to that. Before we talk about the business, before we talk about the conference or whatever it is that's going on. And that is something that spoke to me about where her heart is at and where her spirit is at. Because out of a million texts that I get, She is the only person who says, "Hi, how are you?" And she very formal. She don't like to be called Jess. She like to be called Jessica. So I know y'all on here is like sister girl, Jess, what's up? She don't like Jess. She like Jessica. She is named Jessica. She want to be called Jessica. So she have some unique things about her that separates her, make her different. And I want y'all to get to know her for yourself. And because especially if you in corporate, she'll be able to give you some things because it's no reason why they should or that they would elevate a black woman from South Florida to be a leader in the insurance industry as fast as they did with her, and to give her that role and responsibility. That don't happen all the time. It does happen, but it's some things that had to be done in order to do that. So some of y'all, you work in corporate and you're going to stay in corporate, you might as well also get some secrets on how you could climb that ladder and how you could create boundaries and balance to whatever degree is available. So thank you, Jessica, and forgive me for preaching on here, but I really support your movement and the way that you invest in yourself and just allowing me to be one of your coaches or whatever it would be called to support you on your journey. And that says a lot to me. And so thank you so much. Any last words or any certain sites that the people need to remember?
Yeah, well, no, one, Tony, thank you, of course, for allowing me to be here and share. I would say, I just want to end off, with this, that I understand that, in life we all have responsibilities or obligations or some things that we had just been conditioned to think that we have to do. And my mission is to really show people, specifically women, but people in general, like it is okay to choose yourself, whatever that looks like, because you are worthy of that. Like you don't have to work yourself to a grave. You don't have to put yourself on a burner, on the back burner. Like it is okay to prioritize yourself and take care of yourself. And that is something I'm truly passionate about. And that's why I'm doing all of these things. And as you can see, it's behind me on my wall. Like I choose me, and that is my mantra, and that is what I want to inspire other people to do as well. And so, yes, you can connect with me on Instagram and YouTube at Coach Jessica Rich. Jessica Rich Coaching is my website where you can connect with me if you would like a free consultation, but it gives you information about the membership. It also is an opportunity for you just to explore and see everything that I have to offer. And most importantly, would love to see you on October 16th at the Burnout Piece of a Pressure event. And you can register at Eventbrite. There is going to be an early bird special that will end here within the next week. And so that's definitely an opportunity. If you like to join us, you can get the early bird discount as well. But that is where you can find me and connect. And I just thank you again, Tony.
Awesome. Thank you. God bless y'all, and we will talk soon.